Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you had a nice weekend. Um, just a few general announcements before we start today's lesson. Your grades, your fourth quarter progress report grades are due. Um, so if you haven't turned in anything, right now they're all blanks. If you go into Aries, it'll just be assignment missing. What I'll be doing is putting in a TX, temporarily exempt. I believe that's the name of it, or that's what it stands for. And so you have an opportunity to turn in your work if you like, or hopefully you do like it and you do turn it in. And so your fourth quarter progress report grade will be an accurate representation of your work. So what that means is if you haven't been turning in stuff and that the point total is accumulating against you, so you have less points than fewer points than you did during third quarter versus the total class points, then that will be represented in your grade. However, your second semester grade will be back to the rules about the shutdown rules, which is it can't be lower than your third quarter grade. All right. So this is just to give you a kind of a measure of how you are doing in the class, and hopefully it kind of jolts you awake a little bit if you haven't been turning in work. Helps you get motivated. Again, at this point we want to learn more than we want to earn. And we're handling or discussing a lot of interesting topics. And on that note, we're going to be wrapping up the natural selection unit pretty soon. We'll have a test on it, a small test, and then we'll briefly go into the human impact on biology and on the biosphere. All right, and that's a fun one. So I'm looking forward to that. And as we go through this, if you have any questions about anything, please email or leave a comment on Google Classroom. I check those frequently and I will reply in either format. All right. So on to cladograms. All right. So today's lesson is about how to build a cladogram. And a cladogram is basically a diagram that shows you something called phylogeny. Okay, and a phylogeny is a hypothesis that scientists put together to look at the evolutionary history between species. So how is it that, for example, raccoons are distant cousins of bears, or whales and mongoose have a common ancestor, right? So these things are really interesting in terms of biology, and so we try to, in science, always kind of show you in graphic format, either in tables or graphs or diagrams, basically what we mean, what the concept means, right? So it's a good skill to acquire, not just in science, but in any other field, to kind of be able to show in graphic format what you mean. All right, so there's some background information on cladograms on how to do them, and there's some extra resources. This one is a click and learn about bears, species, and DNA, and this kind of goes through how you get different species of bears and how they are related. This one kind of focuses on the relationship between brown bears and polar
Tree
bears.
diagrams are a type of model. The lines show evolutionary relationships. The nodes show when species lineages diverged from a common ancestral population. Species whose lineages split more recently are more closely related than.
All right, so this here is a phylogenetic tree, which is a little different than a cladogram. And the main difference is the length of the lines is representative of time, right? So this tells you that the panda looks like is less related to the rest of the bear species. then actually the panda and the spectacle bear look like they are less related to the sun, the sloth, the Asian, the American black, and the brown, and the polar bears, right? And then the polar and the brown bear looks like they are closely related. And these strikes here tell you that whatever the trait was stops, right? So whatever trait the panda bear has stops at the panda bear. It doesn't go uphill, right? So and then this collection of species of bear have more in common with each other than they do with the panda. Okay, so as you go through this click and learn, you'll learn more about how is it that these species are separated or distinguished from each other, right? Then there's a set of notes on phylogeny, and this kind of just tells you about more information on how this practice started. Okay, and Darwin, who's a father of evolution, kind of brings out, kind of starts this. Okay, and tells you about divergence, how things move away from each other, how species move away from each other. All right, so that's a set of notes. It's for you to read and get more informed about this topic. Okay, and so this here is basically directions on what to do for the assignment, for this specific assignment. Step one, you're going to create a chart. Okay, and basically the chart gives you the species, or you'll list species or list organisms and then what they have in common. Okay, you'll see in a minute, it's not as sophisticated. You won't have to come up with these things. All right, and then so you create a chart first, then a Venn diagram. A Venn diagram tells you what things have in common, what overlaps, right? So humans have hair, have legs, and a backbone, right? Fish do not have hair. Fish do not have legs, right? So that's what a Venn diagram does. And then you use those two resources, the table and the Venn diagram, to create a cladogram. Okay, so this is a cladogram. Okay, so it's basically a commonality, so a line, right? And then so earthworms do not have backbones. So the earthworm kind of falls underneath. The one thing that all of these have in common, I'm sure you know, is that they're alive, right? They're organisms that live, they're alive. Uh, you can also go with other things like reproduction. You can also go with movement. All of them can move, right? But the earthworm stops at backbone, right? So up this cladogram, everything else has a backbone, but the earthworm doesn't. Okay, so then next is the fish. Fish has a backbone, pass that test, but it does not have legs. So up from this section right here, everything else has legs, right? Then comes a lizard. Lizard has a backbone and legs, but it does not have hair, right? And then finally you have the human, which has all of these, passes all of these tests, okay? For the lack of a better term, right? So what you're doing is you are taking a look at this collection of species of minions, okay? And as you can see, they're all different. And these numbers correspond to the specific species of minion. Okay, so this species of minion does not have goggles. Looks like it only has one eye. Looks like it doesn't have this patch of hair on top of them. And I think that's it, right? Oh, the teeth. Does it have pointed teeth? Doesn't look like it, right? So you're going to, so these minion 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 correspond with these numbers here. And so you're just going to fill this paper out, or table out, sorry. You can either do it on this document, or you can write it up on a piece of paper, because the next thing you're going to do is you're going to create a cladogram, something like this, with the minions, right? So if you know how to do it on Google Docs with the tools, Right now I can't do it because I'm in view mode. But you can use tools, draw and lines, and label, create a cladogram in the document and submit that, or you can do it on paper, take a picture of it and submit that. All right, so if you have any other questions about this, and hopefully it's not confusing, but if it is, please let me know, and we can walk through it. I can give you more direction. All right, so please go on Aries, check. I haven't been able to update everything. It's a nice rainy day, so I'm going to be grading, or actually entering all the grades today, all your points today, and submitting your fourth quarter report. But if you haven't turned in anything, it's not too late. I'll try and get it done as late as possible. So if you are turning in anything last minute, it'll get counted in your fourth quarter progress report. And remember, as always, the progress report is not your final grade. It's just kind of a nudge. So hopefully you do get nudged and you turn in more work. For the most part, everyone or a lot of people are turning in all their work. All right. Thank you, and hope you're doing well, and see you soon. And bye.